today, the Film Freak Show is going to post a guy I've been hounding for probably 18 months through publicists and friends. And have you met this guy? It's an extreme pleasure. You're hearing, the soundtrack of Blade 1, of course, the Blade trilogy. So it's great to have in studio the writer of the Blade trilogy, the director of The Invisible, opening this Friday, and of course Batman Begins, and another movie coming out with Christian Bale where he's wearing a cowl. I can't elaborate. Lots going on, but I would love to welcome into the studio David S Goyer. Dave, thank you for coming in, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Right on. So let me throw some questions at you. With The Invisible coming out on Friday, now I think we're in a filmmaking environment where you, the filmmaker, could be working on the DVD as you're doing the film.
Yeah, that definitely happens now.
So, what were you doing during the shoot? Going, oh, I know what I'm going to do with that, or what's going to be on the DVD?
Well, what happens now is they bring on these DVD producers, and you meet with them even before you start shooting because it's become such a big business in its own right, and then they nominate, certain days on your shooting schedule when they're going to bring in the EPK crew, the documentary crew.
Sure.
And so they say, well, these are the days we're thinking of, and you say yes, no, depending on what's going on. If there's a better day, or that's a closed set, if there's nudity, or who knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you're mindful of that, and then they ask you, well, what kind of features would you want to do? And inevitably, the making of for that was pretty interesting. And it depends. If it's a funny movie or there's humor in it, then at a certain point that you're going to do outtakes, or if there's a flub or something like that. Normally you wouldn't print it, you wouldn't develop the film for that. But you're thinking in the back of the head, I'm going to have that an outtake section on the DVD. Then you say to the script supervisor, print that, but print it for the DVD. So it just depends. But yeah, we're certainly mindful of what those features are when we're making the movie.
What do you think about director's cuts and maybe, a year after the theatrical, you get the movie that you want to come out?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think that's great if the version that was released isn't exactly what you wanted. In the case of The Invisible, there's going to be two versions that are going to come out. One is the theatrical version, and one is, they wanted to call it the director's cut, but the cut that's coming out in the theaters is my, It was my cut. I don't have any beef with it. That's what I wanted. So I said, you can't call it that because it's, it's misleading. So I did an extended cut where I put in about 15 minutes worth of scenes that I had cut out. And I think that's cool because watching a movie at home is different than watching it in the theater. You can take your time, you can take a break. I think people can ingest a longer film at home than they can perhaps in the theater.
You did the hell yesterday, and when I say the hell, I always describe on this show, if I get a little 3-minute interview with Will Ferrell for Blades of Glory, I play my 3 minutes, but I preface it by saying, okay, they mic me up, they sit me down, I do my questions, they wrap me up after 3 minutes, so you can't really unearth any nuggets. You were doing the Invisible press junket yesterday. Did they run you ragged?
Yeah, I did 40 or 50 interviews over the course of about, 5 or 6 hours.
Was your mind jelly after about 25?
My mind was completely fried. The biggest thing is, for each of the people talking to you, they're hearing your answers for the first time, but you were repeating them over and over again, and so you think you just sound like the biggest moron of all time.
Can I try and speculate 3 of the top questions that you got yesterday?
Sure.
Okay. So what's it like making a movie where the main character is invisible?
Yeah, I got different variations of that. Yeah, that was one of them.
Well, the first thing we got to do is I can't wait to see.
Well, and another one was, have you ever felt invisible? That was number one.
Oh my God! Well,
and then the third one was, what's going to happen in the next Batman movie?
And then, of course, you can't say anything.
I can't say anything.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I don't want to know. I don't even want to talk about that yet. There's so much to get to because David S Goyer, I believe, is the go-to guy when it comes to creating a world of high-profile characters. Maybe it's comic books, maybe it's different things. But you know what? I am so down for The Invisible, and the way I like to take my movies in It's not like the junkets. You know, the studios and the publicists, they say, look, Leo, you want to interview David S Goyer? That's great and all, but you have to see the movie first. I prefer, as a movie fan, to see it with people who've paid money to go see it.
So do I. I mean, I don't like going to premieres. Typically, I'll only go if it's
like this.
Well, obviously mine.
The energy is it's cagey.
Yeah, I would much rather see, unless it's like a really good friend of mine or something, I won't go to a premiere. I would much rather see a movie, in a theater with a regular audience.
Is it bittersweet for you that you just can't walk in, grab your soda, grab your popcorn, and see a great Batman film? You're a little pissed that you have to write it?
No. That's, I mean, when I was 16, I remember back in Michigan saying to my mom, I'm going to make a Batman movie one day. And she was like, yeah, right.
Wow.
Whatever. And when I got the job, I called her up. She couldn't believe it. She started crying on the phone. So that's cool. I mean, that's a surreal experience to, I went to, I don't know, Universal City Walk or something like that and saw Batman Begins in IMAX on opening.
So did I. I saw there too.
And that was a surreal experience. I was like, oh my God.
So David S Goyer, who's written movies about comic characters, Marvel comic character, the Hulk. You're a moviegoer, you're a fan, you go to see the Incredible Hulk, Ang Lee's thing. What do you think?
I love Ang Lee as a filmmaker.
Sure.
I mean, The Ice Storm is an amazing movie, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, his earlier films, but, something wasn't working with that movie. I think to a certain extent, and I'm obviously great friends with the guys at Marvel.
Sure.
I think they just overthought it. If I go to see a Hulk movie, I want to see Hulk smash. I want to see him fight another super strong character, knocking down buildings, things like that. I wasn't up for like a big Freudian, expose kind of.
We're in studio with David S Goyer. He's got The Invisible coming out on Friday, and you need to see that. We're going to talk about that in great detail. But while I have you on the Incredible Hulk, and this is, I don't know if this is rumor, but I pulled this down today, and this is so funny. They're just rumors, folks. It's the internet. What do you think about possibly a Hulk 2 with Edward Norton as?
It's not a rumor. It's true.
Okay, so let me get your 2 cents on that, Dave.
I think that's amazing.
Okay.
Ed Norton is an incredible actor.
Sure.
I actually think he'll be genius as Bruce Banner.
Now, tone is the most important thing. Where do you think they should go with it?
Where I think they should go with it is where they're going with it, because I know all the guys involved. So that one is just going to be just a full-on, Hulk fights another super-powered character, and it's just going to be a ton of fun.
So it's Universal saying, movie audiences, give us another shot at this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's really important when you do these kinds of movies that you have to say, what's the promise of the movie? You know what I mean? If you're making The Incredible Hulk, it's like you want to see him, smashing tanks and knocking down buildings, and it's just a giant brawl. That's at least the promise. Batman Begins. Our whole thing was like, we're going to reboot Batman. We're going to take it more seriously. We're going to show you a Batman you've never seen before.
It sounded to me retroactively like you got kicked in the nuts watching Batman and Robin.
Me personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
I answered, I made phone calls. I said, I got to walk out for a minute. I can't just sit and watch this whole thing. I mean, nothing against Joel Schumacher, but you had to feel it, and I was so glad that there was this moratorium. I knew they were going to come back at some point.
I think it was like 9 years between the last one and Batman Begins.
And I think we all needed that thing.
Yeah, of course. It just, what started happening is, it's almost like from Tim Burton's first Batman movie to Joel Schumacher's last Batman movie, the movies kept evolving until they almost became like the old 60s TV show by the end. By the fourth one. They just got goofier and goofier and goofier. And the funny thing was about those movies is that, the public's perception of Batman was the goofy 60s TV show. But, when we did Batman Begins, that was in line with what the comic books had been doing for 20 years. The comic books had been this much darker, more realistic depiction of Batman. So we were just sort of bringing it back to what the comic books was.
Nice. Well, you know what? Lots to be said about the Bat lore and what's going to...